So you turn the unit on, the camera you turn on, and there are settings for the camera, but of course they're different for every camera. You want to lock your white balance, which you'll need to see your owner's manual to figure that out. You want to take off the lens cap before you turn on the camera, as a general rule of thumb. And if you're doing a distance like this, you want to set it in landscape or set the focus to infinity. That'll save you battery, and each frame will be quicker. You can set the duration between clicks on the Gigapan. That's quite easy to do in the setup menu. So you turn it on and it calibrates for a moment or two, and you've got choices of new panorama, which is what we'll actually end up doing, 360 panorama. Last panorama you can repeat the same one you had done earlier, and options will allow you to set the time per pick right now. Oh, and the time per pick right now is 3.4 seconds per picture, and I could probably shorten that up, but it's better to have it go too long than to skip a picture, because skipping a picture is kind of a mess. And you can check battery status, which I'm glad that it said that, because I need to change the batteries, because the battery status is good, it says now. Before it was saying it was dying. You can change the battery pack in the middle of a Gigapan, so we'll go with its good saying. And this model takes 6 AA's. Other models are different, and I'm not sure what that is. And then some other things there that I don't generally deal with. We'll say okay, get out of here, and we will go to, we'll take a quick look at Gigapan setup. The current field of view is 3.8 degrees. To set that, you turn your camera on, you go out to full zoom. For the sake of time, I'm not going to do that right now. I'm not going to set it up, but it does step you through the process, having you set the camera on the bottom of so that the field of view lines up with the bottom of the horizon, the top of the horizon, and the difference between those two zooms determines your field of view. And if you change the zoom on your camera, zoom in, zoom out, you'll need to adjust that setting, and it automatically figures in a little bit of overlap for when it shoots the pictures. And now we will say okay, and here it's telling me to do that stuff, and I'm gonna get out of there and go to new panorama and say okay, and I've got it set to full zoom, and so okay, and set to upper left. This is going to be just a 3 or 4 or 5 maybe images high, and you use the buttons to move the camera and get to the upper left where you want it. And I'm going to say okay, and then it tells me to set to lower right and press OK. So I'm going to go down, and you kind of fiddle around to oops, and I hit the wrong button, so you start over again. So it says new panorama, I hit OK, set to full zoom, that's already done, set to upper left, so I go back over here, somewhere out there, go up a little bit above sea level, set OK, set to lower right, swing around, again, use the controls on the Gigapan to bring it down. If you force it manually, you'll stress out the gears on the unit. You don't want to do that. And I think that's okay. And it now says lower right set and show panorama. I click OK to say yes, and it'll go around to the 4 corners and show me each one. And that looks fine. So this is going along the top, and that looks fine. Down, and that looks fine. And that looks fine. I think, except for the camera just shut off because I hadn't touched it in too long. So, you know, this is part of the excitement. This is a pro at work. But the Gigapan didn't go off, so it's still knowing where I am, and it's just set to full zoom. I didn't have to know anything, and it goes out to the center now, and we press OK to start, and this will be 135 pictures, and I say OK. The batteries in the Gigapan will die in the middle of this, but you can just swap out the battery pack, and you're good to go. And it's asking me questions about the camera settings, and I'm saying okay to all that, and now it'll start taking the panorama. And while it's doing that, I make sure that it's actually hitting the shutter button each time. And it's worth noting that when you set up, and now it says please replace battery. So I've got my batteries in my pocket here. That I was going to say, and I'll talk about this while I'm swapping out the batteries. You want to leave about a millimeter gap between the robot arm that pushes the shutter button and the shutter button, so it gives enough leverage. I did not know that when we initially did these things, and found out that it would very often, and on a number of different cameras, it would skip pictures if the robot button here was set up so it was right on top of the shutter. So you do want to leave that like between 1 millimeter and 2 millimeters gap there. Seems to work well in our experience. And as you can see, you can swap the battery pack out and not have a problem. More expensive batteries are better. These sort of bargain basement alkalines didn't even last a full Gigapan. So, and it was a big Gigapan that killed it off, but it didn't last a full Gigapan. So different models have different battery packs. So this one has 6 AA's. You put them in correctly. And we are good to go. So stick that back in. And power it back up. And make sure the camera's still on. Although I should have turned it off in the interim. And I'm just going to start over for, I think it had only taken 1 picture. And just, it will, one of the options is last panorama, so I'll just go with the last panorama. And I'm going to skip it and have faith that we're in good shape there. And there we go. I do, as I said, check and make sure that it's actually taking pictures with each movement, and it seems to be on the first few anyway. And this is going to be 135 pictures at 3-point-something seconds per picture, so 3 times 135, about 500 seconds, whatever that works out to be. Not too long. I also usually take a picture of the Gigapan taking the Gigapan so that it's easy to do the georeferencing and put it in the right place. So I do that with my smartphone so that it is geotagged, and just snap a picture while it's snapping pictures. And there we go. And that makes it easier to put it in the right place. When you stitch the Gigapan on your computer, it puts it into a grid, and you see this mosaic, this rectangular mosaic of the pictures. This will be, I forget what exactly the dimensions are. I think 5 by something to give you 135. It's helpful to remember that when you go in to arrange the Gigapan. It does not automatically recognize, the software does not automatically recognize how many rows there are, and you'll sometimes find that deleting pictures from the first or last row is necessary, because it somehow ends up with an extra picture or minus a picture in the first or last row. So doing that helps, and then it'll stitch in, depending on how big the Gigapan is, somewhere between a few minutes and an hour or two. It used to take much longer. The first models took much the first software took much longer. Now most Gigapans can be stitched in a couple of hours anyway. Once it's stitched, you can use the Gigapan software to upload it to gigapan.org, and once it's uploaded, you can georeference it, and with a little bit of fiddling around on the Gigapan site, you do need an account to do that, to upload, that is. And once you're in your user view of a particular Gigapan, you can put it, georeference it, so that when you zoom into it in Google Maps or Google Earth, you can actually go from the global view down to street view and into the panorama, and it'll, if you are careful, you are the one who lines it up. It doesn't automatically line up or anything like that, but with a little bit of practice, you'll get pretty good at setting it in Google Earth so that you can see the Gigapan set in the right place, and it will show up on Google Maps and Google Earth for whoever wants to use it. Downloadable as a KMZ file.